Okay guys, we're on part 2 now talking about the hoppers. I'm showing you all of these, the lower end hoppers. Most of these hoppers can be bought for less than $60. These are about 5, these would be 5 to 10 depending upon how popular they are in your area. You can get these $25 to $35, give or take. These are going to be $40 to $60. They make a few different versions. This is a 9 volt, holds one 9 volt battery. They make a version with two 9 volt batteries, same thing. Then another one that has a little LCD screen. Some people don't care for the LCD screen. Personally, I don't see much reason for it, but it has a countdown timer on it, so when you go out and play, you can actually keep track of how much time's in your game. We now get into what are called the super hoppers. These are the hoppers that you're gonna buy generally for, or at least were sold brand new for $100 plus, $120 to $150. This right here is the Pinocchio. This is pretty much the exact same as the Fasta. Uses the same type of technology here. You have your bend sensor, it's in here. You have the motor, circuit board, holds two 9 volt batteries. And there you have the recessed compartment with the arms. This holds roughly 250 paintballs in it, and it's going to be able to have a higher rate of fire than the single 9 volt Fastas. As a matter of fact, a lot of people say that these have a higher rate of fire. They can feed faster than the 18 volt Fasta, but it's probably realistically going to be about the same. The only difference really between this and the other one is the shell and the board. Okay, one of the nice features with these that really makes these stand out from everything else. Holds 250 paintballs, but you can take off this front nose part like this, which makes it really handy. If you break a paintball in any of these other hoppers, it's a real big pain having to open it up, clean out the inside with paper towel. In this case, you can take off your front. If you break one, you have much more room to get in there and clean it. The other thing is these come with a nose, the big nose, hence why they call them Pinocchio. Okay. You put the nose on, you now have a hopper that holds 400 paintballs. One of the big videos that was out there that they were trying to market these with for people who played in the speedball tournaments. You hold 400 paintballs with this. You're going out there, especially if you're a back player. You go and shoot. You're holding your lane, keeping people from getting into bunkers or maybe getting eliminations because you're able to hold it longer. Then when you shoot out all of this, the front, the nose, plus all this, you get really low, you take a moment, you're behind your bunker, really simple and easy. There's a little tab right here that just moves over, there's a spring to hold it, to push it back. Take this, drop it, put it in a pocket, whatever. Pull out from your pocket the front nose, put this on, and boom. Now it holds 250 paintballs. You can go reload it, it's not so big, and you can go play a little bit more normal-like. There's a video out there, at least one video out there on YouTube. Go find it. You don't believe me, that's what they've really marketed this for. The nice thing about this, though, or that was one of their marketing strategies. The nice thing with these, though, they don't jam. And they're supposed to be coming out pretty soon with a new version that's going to be a little bit smaller. Okay. Now, the Halo was the first real major super hopper. This right here is actually a Reloader B, very similar to the Halo. And I'll show you what makes this different than the others in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to talk about the shell really quick. With the shells on all these other hoppers, they're split in two halves, a right half and a left half. If you do break a paintball, except for in that Pinocchio where it's easier to clean out when you take the nose off, if you do break a paintball in there and you can't open up your lid and get in there and clean it, you have to take out all the screws, take this apart to two halves. From here, you end up, you clean it all out, but then when you go to put everything back together, you have to line everything up and then get it in and hope you don't pinch any wires. It can be a little bit of a pain. The guys at Hybrid decided they were going to come out with a better idea. It's still got two halves, a right and left half that's on the bottom. On the top, it's a whole top shell. There's actually 3 screws that hold this on. I've already unscrewed the 3 screws. But if you go on ahead and you break a paintball, boom, there you go. Now, I don't have a die rotor, but the die rotor is very similar in terms of 2 pieces of shell, comes apart, then you can get all the internal stuff. But this right here, it's a Reloader B, basically same thing as a Halo. Much like both of the other 2 hoppers, the last 2 hoppers, the Pinocchio and the Fasta that I showed you. This has a recessed cup where paintballs go in there. Instead of having no arms, it has a cone. Cone also happens to have a spring on there, so it's constantly putting tension on it. It's pushing the paintballs down and into here. What makes this a little bit different than the Pinocchio is the fact that in here, where the paintballs get pushed in to go down into your feed neck, it's much closer. Once the paintballs get past a certain point, and there's other ones there, you can turn it upside down, and the paintballs that are up here will drop down, but those of them that are in the feed neck in here will not drop down. So you could actually get 2, 3 shots maybe before there's too much room with the paintballs in there. One of the big things with these was, though, they were prone to jamming. So what they did is they've got this, they put a little bar on here that went from the cone up in here, okay, down through here. Now this one's missing what's called the rip drive. Those of you who are wondering what the rip drive is, basically it's a sprocket type wheel that just sits right on here. This is good for two things I can think of off the top of my head. Number one, you get a jam. Paintballs were known for getting in here and getting jammed. So what do? You can't really shake it around. Everything here is under pressure. You could end up taking, when there was a wheel here, turn it backwards. It did this, it loosened everything up. Again, remember there's a spring on here putting tension. So as soon as you did this and it moved it out of the way, when you let go, bing, it sprung right back in and it pushed them. The other thing was, what happened if your batteries ran out? You're in the middle of a game, your batteries run out. Uh-oh. Now what do? Well, that's what this is for. You just kept turning that rip wheel and you keep pushing the paintballs in. You get 2 to 3, 4 shots, and then you have to turn it again. So you can keep playing. Now with the Halo, it was much like, and then there's also the what's called the Evolution, also nicknamed the Egg, which is the same thing, which was kind of a middle ground between it was like a combination of the Revy with the Spider Fasta here, but had a more of an egg-shaped type of body to them. They had the same sensor, the break beam sensor. Every time you shot, boom, it pushed them. In this case, so every time you shoot, the paintballs are moving through it, it's reading it, it's turning this, moving it. So it's going to be proactive as opposed to reactive. It's going to push the paintballs down in there. This being a reloader B, it uses a soundboard. So every time I'll turn it on. Now as you can see, there's no paintballs in here, right? So it should be spinning, but it's not. Regardless whether I put a finger in here or not, it's not spinning. It uses a soundboard. I'm going to do this one. See as I tap it? Every time you pull the trigger with your paintball gun, it's going to make the noise, cause this to turn. So, the Magna, very similar. Prophecy, very similar. Biggest difference is in the clutch drive right in here. It's a little bit more, it works out a little bit different. Both those use the same thing. Again, the Reloader B, Halo, same thing. The only other thing is the velocity, similar to this, but instead of having a spot for this, it actually had its own little technology built into the circuit board that if there was too much resistance, it wasn't going to go against it. It would actually turn backwards the motor so that this would move back a little bit, moving the paintball out of the way, and then boom, forward again, feed your paintballs and get them to shoot. With the rotor, the die rotor, okay, unfortunately I don't have one, but to a degree you can kind of understand that you still have something similar to this, but you have the whole, this was actually more centered right in the middle, and there's a hole in it, and there's a little hooked arm just like this, and it spins around. As it spins around, it's catching the paintballs in that cup and pushing them into here and dropping them down into your feed neck. Up above it, there's another arm that kind of looks like a turbine blade. It's got, they're bent the opposite direction, and it's a whole bunch of these going around a circle, and it spins the opposite direction. So they're spinning in opposite directions, moving all the paintballs around, pushing them down in here, pushing those down into your feed neck, and that's how it works. So this is just a basic overview then of all the different hoppers. Not trying to tell you what's best, what's not, but just so you know what's different between them all. Okay?